Hi there, business owners in Wellington and across New Zealand. I want to talk to you today about why promoting someone to manager often makes the problem that you've got worse. Last week we talked about something many business owners discover the hard way, and that is that hiring more staff doesn't solve the overload. What you actually need is a leadership layer in your business. Now here's what many owners do next when they discover that. They promote someone. A senior technician becomes the operations manager, or a trusted administrator becomes the office manager. A strong salesperson becomes a sales manager. On the surface, that feels like progress. The title changes, certainly. Responsibilities sound clearer. And for a short time, it feels like things might finally settle down for you. But then something pretty strange happens. Decisions still find their way, they route back up to you. Problems still escalate upwards. And the new manager keeps checking with you before making the real calls. If that sounds familiar, there's a reason. The title changed, but the structure didn't. Now, many growing businesses, between about $2 million up to about $10 million, experience that exact stage. The owner realizes they can't keep doing everything, so they promote someone. But the promotion really changes where the real authority sits. Instead of solving the bottleneck, it often just adds another layer of communication. So the manager supervises, the owner still decides, and the business becomes slightly slower rather than faster because the core issue hasn't been addressed. The organization still has what I call a dependency chain, from the owner to the manager down to the team. And when the real decisions still belong to the owner, escalation is going to continue. Now, to understand why this happens, we need to look at the difference between supervision on the one hand and leadership. Supervision, to my mind, checks work, whereas leadership owns outcomes. A supervisor, if you like, monitors activity. They track progress. They ensure that tasks are completed. But leadership carries something entirely different. Leadership means accepting responsibility for decisions. Decisions about pricing, decisions about delivery and trade-offs, decisions about customer issues, decisions about team performance. When someone is promoted into a role but is not given real authority over those outcomes, they can't truly lead. All they can do is to escalate. Now, look, here's the psychological layer that makes this even more interesting. You might say you want your team to take initiative, but when they make a decision differently from how you would make it, what happens? Do you fully back them, or do you tweak that slightly? Do you refine it? Do you quietly override it? Right? Even small corrections send a very, very clear signal. Big calls get reviewed, that's the signal, and risk sits at the top, and authority lives with the owner. And intelligent people respond rationally, without a doubt. They escalate, because escalation for them is far safer than exposure. Now, look, without real leadership, without authority inside the business, several things begin to happen. Decision speed slows down. Managers hesitate before committing to actions. Team members wait for direction, and the founder remains the center of the system. At first, that just feels like overload, but as the business grows, it becomes something more serious. It becomes a structural ceiling, because personal decision capacity does not scale indefinitely. Eventually, managers depend on your oversight. Quality depends on your involvement. Revenue depends on your energy, and the business becomes fragile. From an outside perspective, whether from an investor, a buyer, or a senior person looking to join you, that creates risk. Because if performance depends on the founder's daily judgment, the company behaves more like a job than an asset. So, look, what actually solves this? Not more titles, not simply appointing more managers. What changes the trajectory is real decision ownership. Leadership roles must carry, in my mind, three things. Number one, clear authority. They must know which decisions they can make independently. Number two, aligned accountability. If someone owns delivery, they also own the decisions that affect delivery. And defined escalation boundaries, which is the third thing. Leaders know when to decide and when to escalate. When that structure exists, then behavior changes. Right? Problems get solved at the lowest competent level, so it's dispersed. Decisions move upwards, information moves upward, and the founder's role begins to shift slightly, begins to change. Instead of solving every problem, the founder begins designing the system that solves them. And that's the real shift from operator through to chief executive. And it's a shift that allows a business to scale. And next week we'll look at the first structural change that overloaded owners need to make if they want to break that bottleneck permanently. Because the biggest unlock in many businesses isn't a new hire or a new strategy. It's a new version of the founder. Now listen, have a great week. And if you're running a business where everything still routes through you, it's a structural problem, not a personal one. Have a good one. We'll chat next week. Cheers.